Good evening, everyone. And it seems I've started off better than I thought I might have done. And it's really nice to be hosting again, but not on my own this time. I've got a bit of company and the lovely, beautiful face sat beside me. We've got Dan Simpson in the house with us. Dan, how the hell are you?
I'm very, very well. Thank you very much, Cam. Very, mixed weather. It's all good. Busy week at work. Nice to have a little break this evening from reality and take in week 11. We're up to it seems to be going. Like, and I know I sort of say this every year. It seems to be going very quick. This doesn't it? Week 11. We have very much broken the back of this year's Premier League, and you feel we are creeping into the business end, aren't we?
We are. We're absolutely flying along, aren't we? Like you say, next week's 3/4 of the way through, which is just madness, as it only feels like it started a couple of weeks ago. We've seen so much sort of happen already, but it's just gone by so fast. And yeah, week 11 in the books. Brighton, cracking atmosphere in there tonight. There were a couple of moments of giving Gezi a bit of stick, which he's not had for a few weeks, but generally pretty well behaved, and it seemed a good atmosphere in there tonight.
It did. I was, if I'm brutally honest, I had, at the beginning of the year, when you see the list of where we're going this year and where the travelling circus is going to visit, I did, if I'm honest, have a look and think, oh, Brighton, really? Oh, okay, fair enough. But happy to be proved wrong. It very much looked like not only a crowd that was up for a good night out, but seemed a crowd that was very much into the darts and knew what was going on. And I thought it came across really, really, really well. A good spot to visit on the tour.
Yeah, I think we could have a little weekend at the seaside next year, couldn't we?
Yeah, honestly, it does. It looks quite an attractive one to have a visit. Yeah, definitely.
Get ourselves down there on a Thursday night, stay for Friday and Saturday, and we're back home and ready for work on the Monday. It'd be ideal.
It could do with it being about 3 weeks later in the schedule for better weather, maybe, and that's about it, isn't it?
Well, that's it, yeah. Well, I suppose thinking about that, last weekend would have been absolutely fine. Last weekend was absolutely cracking on Friday and Saturday, but it seems to be back to the cold this week, and quite glad I'm not going to be at entry in it for the next couple of days from the look of it. A few people in the chat room. Let's get everyone flashed up on screen. Jack's in there straight in saying evening. Price the man at the minute. I mean, we'll come on to that, but what he's playing at some level at the moment. We've got Bob in as well. Again, played well. Everyone's giving away giving away the result. If anyone's watching this that hasn't watched it already, I'd be very surprised. I mean, to come and listen to us waffle about it when you've not watched it would be some level of commitment. We've got Matthew in the chat there as well. Charlie in there as well. Evening, Charlie. How are you, mate?
Good evening, Charlie boy. Not
been called up late this week, Charlie. He's getting to rest on a Thursday night. He got roped into it last week when me and you couldn't get here. So let's get into it. And first game, Dimitri van den Berg up against Michael van Gerwen. One of those that you're looking at that you probably fancy that Van Gerwen should be winning it, but the style that he did it in was pretty impressive, to be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, it got off to a flying start, and we have going into this evening at the beginning of the night, he sat somewhere clear at the top of the league table. We can have a chat about the league table a bit later on, but certainly opening tonight, certainly Michael van Gerwen has been the dominant force in this year's Premier League, and yeah, it was. I mean, the average of the 104 average was terrific, really. I think we had a quick chat before we came live, and I feel like I'm going to probably end up repeating myself a little bit tonight in that, I said to you what we sort of saw today was people playing at the levels that we've seen of them lately. And I think in that opening match, we saw Michael van Gerwen hitting the stride that he's been in the Premier League, 24 ton plus visits, 38% on his doubles, really, really well, 105 average. And similarly for Dimitri van den Berg, sort of hitting the level that we've seen from him lately hovering around the 30% on the checkouts, averaging 95. Sometimes that's going to get you through a first round match. It's not going to get you through a first round match at the moment against Michael van Gerwen. Really dominant performance, but I don't think too many people will have been surprised by that one.
No, I don't think so. I think if you were a betting man, there was only one way you were going, and you probably weren't getting very good value for it, because I think we all kind of expected it. Excalibur was in the chat as well, by the way, just popping in between modus matches. Yes, you have got the Super Series going on right now. I think you've got Nathan Gerben against Gary Blades up next on there, but obviously,
it's a crack, and I wouldn't encourage anyone to turn off from our insight cam and have a look. But it is a cracking lineup tonight. Like it's a really good session. So once you've all finished listening to us with nonsense for a while, like get yourself onto sporty stuff because it's a really good night of darts, I think, tonight.
Exactly that. You took the words straight out of my mouth there, saying obviously don't turn away from us because I mean, what more would you want to watch than me and you for the next probably best part of an hour once we waffle on? But yeah, I mean, once we're done, get yourself on there, get it on catch up, get it on record now and catch up afterwards, and go back to it afterwards. But yeah, really good lineup, few cracking ties to come in the last sort of 4 games of the night that we've got to go as well, before it moves on into tomorrow morning. Next up. Now then, there's only one place to start with this one, and the man that has been just throwing ridiculous darts for the last few weeks treated us to the highest average of the Premier League so far this campaign, as he just gave a pretty well-performing Chris Dorby absolutely no chance here with 115.97 average in this one.
And that I saw like my notes. I was like scribbling along. I was sat in the kitchen with Mac and scribbling some bits and those bits of points. And I started literally just sort of writing early like Price looks ridiculous. Right, Price looks completely unbeatable in this match, and like that average is absurd. 0.03 off average in 116, and it's like Sorry.
We'll round it up for him. We'll give him the point.
Yeah, I'll give him the 116 when he's only 0.03 away. But it's another frustrating. Speaking on behalf of Northeast Darts, it is unfortunately another really frustrating one for Chris Dorby because we spoke a minute ago about Dimmy averaging doing 30% on his checkouts, averaging 95. Sometimes that will get you through a first round match. Now, like looking at what Dorby's posted tonight, he's done 33% on his checkouts. He checked that 127 out that was superb, and he's averaged over 103. Now, 80% of the time, that's getting you through the first round this year. Those numbers alone, 80%, like that is going to take you through, and you're at least hitting a semi. Now, but again, like as I said, just referring back to my notes from earlier, Price was just completely on top of Dorby. Even on throw, Dorby looked up against it all the time. And it just looked like it was going to take 10, 11 dart leg to get a leg off Price tonight because he was just playing so well. Certainly to break him just looked completely impossible. Again, frustrating, I think, for Dorby. Difficult to really overanalyze it too much. I know we'll talk about Price again later on, so I'm not going to go too much on him. But I think we've done a lot of talking about Dorby's the level he's at in the Premier League and how many points he's picking up and victories and is he winning matches and scoring. It's really difficult to, when someone's posting averages like that and playing the way that he does, to really be too critical. He's doing everything he can, really. He's just met a bloke averaging 116.
Yeah, I think this is one that you just write off and move on to next week, isn't it? There's literally nothing you could do. Like you said, to break him, you were basically having to hit a $9. Without a $9, you weren't. Right,
he'd have had to start banging in consistent 10 and 11 dart legs in order to push the match level. Yeah. Like it was just mental.
Absolutely ridiculous. There's nothing you can do. You write it off and move on to next week. Go, I actually played all right there and got pummeled, to be fair. Jamie's nick exactly what I was going to say when you mentioned this. Absolutely having more than a semi if you average 103 with 33% on your doubles, to be fair.
Right. Absolutely.
We've reached that level already. Moving swiftly on, and this was probably the only one of the games we've seen so far where it didn't really go with what we'd have expected. It looked like it might early on, and somehow Nathan Aspinall, coming off his first ever Euro Tour final on the weekend, has conspired to throw away a 4-0 lead. What happened there, Dan?
Well, to be completely honest with you, Cam, for this one, because as it's the most interesting match of the entire night, I missed it. I got a text message off a mate of mine saying he was stuck at the hospital and needed a lift, and I jumped in the car, picked him up, and fetched him home. And as I walked back through the door, the players were walking off stage, and I completely missed it. So the only thing interesting that happened tonight, seemingly, I've managed to completely miss. So I'm just going to let you talk everyone through that one and give your insight on it, mate.
You've massively dropped me in here, and this is where we've not planned this very well beforehand. I was on the tram on the way home from work when this game was going on. I didn't see it either because my signal kept dropping out.
Oh, what a pair.
I was keeping a track of the scores, but I couldn't get Sky Go to keep going for me. It just kept dipping out while I was on the tram. So I was kind of keeping up with what was going on. But from what I could work out, from Nathan starting off pretty solidly, playing quite well and just playing at the level we kind of expect from him at the moment, the way he's going, the way he played at the weekend to make the final. He then threw in a couple of really ropey legs that let Wright back into it at 4-2. We then saw Wright fire in possibly a 12-darter, I think, to get it back to 4-3. And from there, it was just like pressure was on Nathan a little bit. There were a few missed doubles in the next leg as well. And yeah, he just never really got control of the match back. And when it came down to it, it was actually Wright, despite the fact that he's not really won a lot of games recently, managed to be the one that got over the line in the decider, despite what was a lot of faffing around again in leg 10.
Yeah, and that seems to just have been or become just more and more part of the game for him. It just seems to be that's sometimes where he gets to, and obviously sometimes it'll be punished, other times he'll get away with it. Like the times where he's, unfortunately, I think we've talked loads about his lack of wins and his lack of form and everything else. And every now and again, you see a bit of a win, you see a performance, and you think, well, can he take some encouragement for it? I'm of a mind where I don't take a great deal of encouragement from it on his behalf, because where he seems to be getting over the line and picking up victories, it's generally where someone else has had let him off. He's got away with murder, and then he's managed to pick a win up. I don't think Peter Wright will take a great deal from the fact that Nathan Aspinall's had a complete nightmare in the back end of that game. We'll see. It does make it. The thing is, and we'll talk the league table later on. The league table's becoming very, very interesting for that fourth playoff spot. Very interesting, and these little things that happen where Nathan Aspinall chucks some points away today against Peter Wright. These little things, and now, as I say, now we're sort of 3/4 away through this Premier League, are going to start to become very important, and these will start to be analysed more because they will become, pivotal as to whether or not somebody makes that last spot.
Yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? I mean, one thing I did think was impressive from Wright tonight, and that we saw a little bit better, and sort of Bob alludes to it in the chat here, in fact that the longer points and similar dart to last week, his grouping looked a lot better today. And I've got to say, his throw, I feel, looked better, to be fair. So the fact that he averaged over 100 in this match, despite being 4-0 down and also going 6 from 21 on the doubles, I think probably says something to a little bit that there's a bit of a better performance. But like you say, he still should have got routed in this game, really.
Oh, and there's glimmers as well, and I'm skipping ahead ever so slightly, but like every now and again you see, like he took in his next match when he played Smith, he took a 1-2-1 out that looked like vintage Peter Wright. Like he looked completely comfortable, and his throw looked that Peter Wright throw when he's absolutely on it. But it's in glimmers at the minute rather than even seeing it for a leg or a match. It's little bits here and there.
And then just Jamie here, has Asp won a game since he said he'll finish top 4?
No.
I don't think he has, no.
No.
And yeah, it's not like he's faced Price a couple of times and just got railroaded either. He's lost to a pretty poorly performing Johnny Clayton, who I know has won the last 2 weeks, but hasn't been anywhere near his best.
No, and I don't think from memory that Nathan's got the most favourable of fixtures over coming weeks, which is going to get interesting because he is in with a very, very good shot of making that top 4, but the fixtures might not lend themselves to the run he wants to have for him.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there, and like you say, he has got a bit of a tricky run, and it's not going to be easy for him. I think, without sort of getting too far ahead of ourselves, I think he's got Michael van Gerwen next week, which not really what you fancy, especially the way Michael started off tonight. But before we get too stuck on Nathan, because I think after tonight we probably don't want to talk about it too much, mainly because I like Nathan Aspinall and I don't want to talk too much about it. The final game, Johnny Clayton, Michael Smith. Johnny coming off the back of winning the last 2 weeks with, as he said himself this week, not playing anywhere near his best darts yet. This was one where he probably let a little bit of a chance go here, though.
Yeah, and I think the moment it swung was like Johnny was 4-2 up, and Michael Smith he threw 6 perfect darts in that 7th leg, and roared. Like, we don't see a huge amount from Michael Smith like that. We don't see a lot of roaring where you can hear it in the crowd, and he really did give it some. And then he did mess about a bit. Like he nearly had an 11 darter, messed around a little bit, and he had to come back for double 6. He ended up just getting it done in 14. But I was worried at that point, and I thought, well, maybe that messing around at the end might break that momentum, because he looked like he was building a little bit of momentum up there to try, and it didn't. Like he seemed to kick on from there, Michael Smith. And I just think that if I'm honest, it looked like Johnny he sort of maintained a level. I don't think he particularly dropped off too much, Johnny. It's just that Michael Smith needed to play his way into that game. And I think those 6 perfect darts and the big angry growl is sort of what did it. I just think Michael Smith played his way in, and once he was in the game, Johnny just couldn't quite get back on top of him, and he couldn't keep him at arm's length, and he couldn't hold when he needed to, and it just got away from him in the end, I think. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think, like you say, just there wasn't that extra gear when he needed it. He couldn't quite step it up and just step on the gas, and it's kind of similar to what he's done the last couple of weeks. He hasn't really done that the last couple of weeks in winning the last couple of weeks either, but he's just, like I say, that consistency, and he's just nicked wins and sort of mugged his way through almost.
Yeah.
Which didn't work tonight. And like you say, Smith, we saw it a couple of times from him tonight, giving the big roar, whether he's just trying to get himself going a bit, because he looks a little bit frustrated that 1 second the scoring is absolutely firing and they're going in without him even trying, and then the next minute he's hit 3 visits in a row where he's not at treble, and it's...
Well, it's generally the thing that he always relies on, isn't it? Michael Smith, yes, he can finish and he does some box office stuff and he's amazing. Michael Smith's game is scoring. He will outscore his opponent consistently, and that's how he's become number 1 in the world. He is the best player in the world when he's playing at scoring points. And at the minute, he's almost having to rely on, taking checkouts out on it, because his scoring just isn't quite Michael Smith level. It's still brilliant, but it's not quite Michael Smith. And he's not able to use that as a crutch to get him through these games as much as he would probably like to, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's exactly that. I think we're seeing more, as many, if not more, 180s from him at the moment than we've seen earlier in the tournament. But in between it is just there's no consistency at all. There's none of that steady tons and 140s. It is literally it's 180 or it's 12 almost.
Yeah, definitely. I think I completely agree.
Next game up though, this was a bit good, wasn't it?
Oh, mate.
Gerwyn Price, Michael Van Gerwen. This was by some distance game of the night.
Well, for me, it's bordering like if I take let's say I take like fandom out of it, let's say take away enjoying Derby winning night one and the stuff that I've just enjoyed for being a fan. As a fan of darts, game of the Premier League for me so far, like it was only a shame that it was a semi-final, because I just thought it was I mean, first of all, the level that they both played at, like and 108 average players just shy of 105 average. 43% on the doubles, plays 45.5% on the doubles. Like it's proper levels of that. And what it was clearly the top two players in this Premier League, but also what we saw there, we did see for 11 legs, the top two players in the Premier League this year playing at their best, roundabout best level that they've hit in the Premier League this year. It was just absolutely sublime. I thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish. A couple of those, like Gezi checking out the double 18 followed by the double 16 to break and pull it back to 2-all. Like, and at that, I thought like he looks completely unstoppable. Until the following leg, when he went round the houses, I thought, like, guess he looks on something. This is amazing. Then he cut the following leg. He went round the houses. He missed double 20, double 10, double 5, and then you think, oh, he's coming back, isn't he? Because MVG's on 120. Bang! Then that goes, and it's at that point at 3-2 that you think, here we go. Like this is getting a bit interesting. And then we were one dart away from seeing the 9. I tell you what, I didn't like the fact I didn't realise, because you just sort of think, well, we see them on the regular. Cam's dropped off. Oh, there he is. He's coming straight back. I was going to just keep wittering about Michael Van Gerwen, but the fact that Michael Van Gerwen hasn't hit a 9 on Sky Sports for 13 years, for 11 years, 2012, 11 years.
That is,
I thought was staggering.
And a ridiculous stat.
Mad statistic. And how was that?
I feel like he has hit one since then, but I just can't. I can't picture where or when, and it must be right. But yeah, it doesn't feel that long ago.
But even that last leg as well. Like I don't know. Like obviously, guess he missed the match start, missed the double 12 with Michael Van Gerwen on the 170, and it was on, wasn't it? Like it was like I don't care who you support.
First dart, it was gone. Like,
and what you want, like, guess he's missed match starts. This match has been amazing, and Michael Van Gerwen comes with the big fish, and you just think like, this is why I love darts. It's going to happen, and but I do think like. 3 more outside double 12 for Price. It got really, really tight on the wire. MVG missed a match start. It just had everything, didn't it? It had unbelievable scores, superb checkouts, proper drama. That is a Premier League game. That's what we want to see every week.
Yeah, absolutely. That. I mean, funnily enough, that last leg as much as it was filled with drama, was probably the worst leg of the game as well.
In terms of averages and scoring, it was crap.
But you just felt, as soon as that first one went in from Van Gerwen on the 170, I just went, go in. Yeah. And I'd said going through from probably about dart 5 onwards into the 9 as well. Every time one went in, I just went, go in. It's go in this. Like, absolutely was just ridiculous from the pair of them. Like, the standard, like, you could have watched this all night. If this total up however many legs we had tonight and these two just played all of them, it would have.
Oh, mate, first to 50, I'd have happily watched it. Like, I'd have watched them two play first to 50 tonight. It was just
100%.
thoroughly enjoyable. Like, really good stuff.
Yeah. Evening, Colin, by the way, drops in. Good to see you in here as always. And then we'll go on to the next semi-final. Now, tough for these two really to follow what they just witnessed in the game before, and it wasn't anywhere near that sort of standard that we saw from the game before. But I thought it was actually a pretty good watch, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I think we've been a little bit spoiled in semi-finals, just in what we want from the Premier League is, we want these players, the 8 best players, and however you want to badge it, that are playing entertaining, having entertaining matches. Yes, we want to see 9-0. We want to see amazing scores and averages and huge checkouts, but we also want to see really good games of darts and competitive. Like I mentioned earlier, obviously Smith took the first break to go 1-0 up, but that 1-2-1 from Peter Wright, and that's when I thought, oh, we're in for another one of these games here. This was going to go again, because that 1-2-1 from Peter, it just looked everything about the way that he released the dart and the way those darts hit the board. I was like, it's Peter Wright here. This is proper Peter Wright back. The 160 from Smith was superb, but just to show, I suppose, where Peter Wright was in the game, the 160 from Smith was for a hold when Wright was sat on double 18. Massive for Smith to take that out when under the pressure, knowing Wright's coming back for the double 18. But that was where Peter Wright was at in that game, that Smith was having to take 160 out just to hold. And in terms of the drama, a missed match dart on the ball. That's there's a dart. That's darts, isn't it? I just thought again it was a really good, entertaining watch. I think a little shout out. We've sort of said that we didn't quite see the level, and it's interesting we talk about Michael Smith scoring. Averaging 96. Halfway, 3/4 of the way up to 97. It's not Michael Smith at his best in the scoring phase. However, we did see the 160 checkout, but 86% on it, or nearly 86% on his doubles, 6 out of 7 on the doubles for Michael Smith. That's what won that game. That game was won exclusively on Michael Smith being able to hit 6 out of 7 on the doubles. And again, it's not very often that we will sit and say that Michael Smith's scoring wasn't great, but his doubles were unbelievable, and that's why he won. But hey ho, it made for a cracking game.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, like you say, he made a living and got himself all the way to world number 1 by outscoring people and giving himself more chances at a double than his opponent generally. Today, it wasn't just 6 out of 7, but it was his last 6 in a row as well. The first miss was a miss at the bull in leg 1. And then he hit all 6 after that.
Just
really impressive. The 160, we touched on. The 160 wasn't just for a hold; it was for a hold to take us to a deciding leg.
It's defending the game. That's it. The double 18 that Peter Wright was on was a match dart. It wasn't just any old double 18, and that's why, as I say, I think certainly, based on what we've seen in the Premier League so far, some of it I've been really entertained by. Other bits, not so much. The 2 semi-finals that we got tonight, I thought were an absolutely cracking watch, and thoroughly enjoyed both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So did I. Jamie, hi. Good to see you in here as well. Surely MVG must have the most missed start attempts on double 12. Yeah, he does miss quite a lot of them, to be honest.
I'd go with that.
Does he need to start going the other way and going either doing it the Price way and starting off on treble 19 and then going up and it's an easier switch from treble 20 to double 12, or just do away with it altogether and go treble 15, double 18 instead?
Yeah, that's the thing. But Michael loves the 19s.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's not. I think it's nothing to do with the route. I think he wants the 19 in that cycle because he loves the 19s. I think sometimes he feels as or more comfortable at 19s as he does 20s. And so it's a bit of an odd one for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think I do think the way Price goes on it is the right way to go. If you've got the 1-4-1 left, starting on 19s, then up to 20s and switch across, it's a much easier switch than going up, down, up again. But I suppose it's kind of each to their own. And I mean, they're a lot better at darts than we are, so I'll kind of leave it in
Well,
my
Cam, if I'm honest with you, mate, I've never had to worry about which route to go for me 1-4-1 at the end of a 9-darter, if I'm completely honest. It's not something that's ever phased me.
I mean, I'm a 19s player as well, and I've hit a lot of 9s, but it is literally just 3 3s. So that's my standard there. So on to the final then, and Gerwyn Price up against Michael Smith. It flattered to deceive for a while. We were kind of expecting fireworks that we'd seen from Price throughout, and it felt scrappy. It felt like it wasn't maybe the best game of darts that we've seen and his best performance. Yet somehow he averaged a ton again.
Well, it suffered. I mean, it suffered, I think, from following 2 very entertaining games, because whilst the standard of the game was all right, it wasn't particularly entertaining. The big difference, I mean, clearly that was the worst darts that Gerwyn Price had played this evening. You know, it was worst averages. Checkouts were all right. You know, still 42%, 6 out of 14. The 117 checkout was nice. The big difference, Michael Smith, barring, you know, point a couple, averaged exactly the same as he did in the in the semi-final, but 3 out of 13 on his doubles. Those doubles dropped to 23%. Highest checkout, you know, like 1-double-18. Like, no combination finishing at all in that final from Michael Smith. Couldn't put 2 darts together. And that was the story of it. You know, at the very beginning, it looked like might be a bit level, but that was only as Gezi Price didn't start off at the level he'd played earlier in the evening and worked his way into it. Michael Smith's average stayed almost exactly on 95 for the whole game. Yeah. Gerwyn Price's average increased as the game went on, and because Gezi Price was finishing, you know, kicking on for 1 in 2 of the darts he got at a double, and Michael Smith was more towards 1 in 4 of the darts he got at a double. That's just how it went, and it ended up not being particularly competitive. He just played his way into the game, and Michael Smith didn't go with him. Just you know, kept the scoring throughout the evening, but lost the doubles and certainly the combination finishing, because couldn't put 2 together.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, Jamie says last 3 legs Price got going. He definitely did, and he certainly did up it towards the end, and we saw him, like I say, jump from that sort of mid-90s average that we saw for a lot of the game to end up with. And this is how ridiculous it is, how the way he's playing at the moment. As Bob puts it, only 100.8, not 8 average for Price, which for that to be only just shows you how well he's playing. And he ties Michael van Gerwen now in terms of 4 night wins in this Premier League in the tournament that he apparently doesn't like and isn't very good in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll get on to some predictions and we'll talk about next week, but like, for me, if I'm setting the odds, he's a tournament favourite at the minute by some way.
For everything, any tournament at the moment for me.
Yeah, he win, but he's certainly the Premier League favourite by a country mile. Because not only is he playing, not only is he where he is in the league, but it very much feels this year like both the format, the venues, everything about it that hasn't looked comfortable or like it's clicked before really seems to be clicking. Like the first to 6 format seems to be really clicking with the way that he's playing. He seems to be able to manage his own reactions and ability to cope with the crowds and arena crowds very differently to what we've seen in years gone by. I think it's going to take something big from somebody else to stop Price absolutely running away with it this year.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. I cannot see past him. And I think for him, it's a big thing is I think he wants to prove a point and go and say, actually, you know what? I can do it in this tournament and I'm going to do it and I'm going to show you all. And like I say, the crowds have been a lot more on his side. We did see a bit of booing in his semi-final in that deciding leg when he missed the 3 at double. Seemed to be a lot of love for Michael van Gerwen in Brighton tonight. Even in the final, I think they were singing his name at one point.
I think they have to remember that the Premier League crowds, I'm lucky enough to watch a lot of live darts over the course of a year. I'm lucky to get to various different Premier League nights, a few other different major, PDC tournaments, as well as some seniors and some other bits as well. Like the Premier League crowd is really weird compared to every other darts crowd in the world, because it's just different, because it's an arena and it's more of an event and it's more of a people going to watch the darts than it is darts fans going to see something. And I think Gezi Price has almost learned to completely accept that, and it seems like he can deal with all of that so much better in the Premier League than he can elsewhere, because I think he started to just unpick a little bit what the Premier League is and what that crowd is. And he can fob it off. I don't think he don't even care if 18 blokes dressed as Smurfs want to boo him. They're on a night out, aren't they? He can. I just think he's learning to cope with it a lot better. He did reference. I'll tell you what. I caught his interview just after the game before I got logged on here, and he referenced his new clean eating diet. Giving him some more. I don't know what that consists of. I wouldn't mind getting a copy. I might see if I can.
Does that just mean that he washes everything before he cooks it, or
he's clean eating? So he started washing his salad before he washed his carrots before he's cutting them up. But no, he did reference the fact that he's changed his diet. He's doing some clean eating and that's giving him a bit more energy and I don't know. Sometimes these things are psychological, but he clearly feels very happy with where he is and where his game is and his confidence at the minute. So whatever's contributing to that's definitely working.
Yeah, he's definitely because he's always looked really out of shape. Yes, he's never looked in particularly good shape. But like you say, it probably is all just in his head. It's that placebo effect that I'm eating better, I feel better, I feel like I've got more energy, and it's showing. And the other thing is, as Tommy points out, a Welshman has won the last 5 Premier League nights. Does this mean we now have to go next year on a tour of Wales and we'll go to Aberystwyth and we'll go to Llandudno and we'll go to Wrexham? Yeah, we'll go to take it to the racecourse and nip over to Anglesey as well. Are we gonna? We'll go around the lot because they're just gonna. If these two are gonna keep winning every week, we might as well go over there.
Yeah, we'll hire a camper van.
That'd be lovely.
Delightful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, plenty of good golfing as well on the way around. That'd be ideal. So yeah, that was the night wrapped up. We'll have a little look at the table now. So few chats in there saying that we are a couple of people maybe getting carried away that he's gonna run away and win the league, and I'm probably with you on that one. I think that Price might go and do that now the way he's playing, which would be a big moment, that really, wouldn't it? Because like you say, it's for someone to go and beat Michael van Gerwen to win the league phase. It doesn't happen very often in the Premier League.
Well, the other thing that's interesting as well, and I believe, if my brain's working correctly, that the finals in the O2 are seeded. So if you finish number 1, you play number 4, and number 2 and 3 play each other. So depending, that whoever finishes 4th isn't going to have had an amazing Premier League. Like, they're just not. Look at the league the way it is now. And if Gezi Price pinches that number 1 spot, he certainly will have the favourable semi-final, because we're pretty much banking on what the other semi-final would be. And I think that will be key. Is that just the draw for finals night?
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you there. So just to run through the table for anyone who's not seen it yet, we've got Michael Van Gerwen is still top. He's got 29 points and a plus 34 leg difference. Close behind him now, though, is Gezi on 27 with a plus 29 leg difference. And then there's a big drop off, to be fair. Ooh. You've then got a few in close together. Michael Smith, 18 points, minus 4 leg difference, which shows you how dominant the other two have been, that nobody else has got a positive leg difference other than the top two in the table. Johnny Clayton picking up that 4th spot at the moment, despite getting beat first round tonight, off the back of the 2 wins in the last couple of weeks, 17 points, minus 4 leg difference as well. Nathan Aspinall, as we've said, on that bad run for him since saying that he's going to make the top 4, 15 points. He's only a win behind Johnny Clayton, but minus 15 leg difference could be a bit of a problem for him. Chris Dobie on 10 points behind him, minus 12 leg difference. And then Dimitri Vandenberg, 9 points, minus 10 leg difference. And Peter Wright, sort of still at the back, but still in with a shout if he can go on a decent run, because spots 3 and 4 are certainly still open. Peter Wright, 7 points, minus 18 leg difference, rounding off the bottom of the table. Just before we get into next week, we have now got a clip from Gezi Price after his win tonight. So here's what he had to say.
You just know how to beat him.
I think I beat him the last 5 times, so Mikey boy. No, he's today he could have beat me, even though I played really well. I missed a lot of doubles, and yeah, it's all on the day, with the players, not just me and Michael. Everybody, especially in the top 8 or top 4, then whoever plays well on the night's going to win. But I said, it was the first time I think all year that the top 4 in the world was in the semi-final, so I'm glad I come through that one.
The darts you're playing, the results you're having, do you walk into that practice room now knowing you're the best player in the world again?
No, but I think the other players do, which is more important, and when people are coming out and playing me, I think they think about me more than what I do about them. So as long as I'm in their head, that's all that matters.
Do you know, he sounds the least sort of encumbered and stressed and tightly wound than he has for 4 year maybe?
Possibly ever.
Just seems completely relaxed, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does. He seems in a very, very good place.
Which is very, very dangerous for every other professional darts player, because he's very, very good. And if he's relaxed and at peace with the world, banging in scores like that, then whoo.
Well, that's it, isn't it? At the end of the day, I mean, if he's feeling that comfortable and carrying on to play the way he is, everyone else is in a lot of trouble. And yeah, I do like the fact that he's giving Michael a little bit as well, just having a little look in his pocket for him because he's beaten the last 5 on the bounce as well. It's what I like to see. It's that cheeky sort of. There's no malice in it, but it just shows he's in a really good place.
That's just the relaxed nature of it, isn't it? Which I think is probably very good for his game.
Tommy in the chat just drops in that. Hang on, I'm trying to put him up on the screen, but it's my computer's having an absolute nightmare. But basically saying, is it just me, or is the table format not as easy to understand? It is a little. It's a bit confusing just because it's not the way it used to be, as it were. It's just you're getting 2 points, 1 point, or no points. There's 5 points that could come from everywhere. Also, they've just thrown a load of. You don't need in the legs one and legs one against the throw. It doesn't need.
There's lots of numbers, isn't there? Like lots of numbers.
Yeah, it makes it look a lot more confusing.
Like reading a spreadsheet.
Yeah, just simplify it. Just tell us how many matches they've played, how many points they're on, and what's the leg differences, and keep it simple. If it comes down to it at the end, and it's going to come down to the fact that it's going to have to go to legs against the throw, or
by all means,
then fair enough. Bring up those stats at that point, but we don't need it in there every week. It does make it look a bit more confusing there.
Yeah, it's as important to me as people that keep putting treble-less visit stats on. Like, I find them boring and unnecessary. Too many numbers.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree with you. So, I think we've waffled on for long enough about tonight. Let's get on to next week. I'll bore you for a bit longer yet. Wow. And this is the bit where, for once, I'm in charge here, and I don't have to be the first one to give my predictions out. So look at me, I'm the captain now.
Right. Let's see.
Dan Simpson, first game next week in Rotterdam, which fantastic venue. Love Rotterdam.
Or anywhere.
Or anywhere. Could be Liverpool or Rome. No. Not having that. Before we get into the predictions, Jamie, I'm absolutely not having that in the chat. I will kick you out. Like I said, I'm the captain now. Nathan Aspinall will win tonight. I don't know when it'll be, but he's definitely winning one. And then, so yeah, first up next week in Rotterdam, we have got Chris Dobey. So a nice place to start for you, Mr. Simpson. Up against Johnny Clayton. Which way does this one go?
6-4, Chris Dobey. And I genuinely don't think that is an outrageous pick. I just think if Chris Dobey plays the way he has played for the last, entirety of the Premier League, if you take average Chris Dobey over the course of the Premier League and average Johnny Clayton over the course of the Premier League, I think Chris Dobey wins that match. I just think he's playing at a better level more consistently. We know Johnny can turn it on and may well do. But both, honestly, heart and brain, 6-4 Chris Dobey.
Okay, yeah. I think you're right as well. I'm having some issues. I don't know whether anyone can still hear me or not, or whether I've gone at this point.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Yeah, I'm with you actually. I think Chris Dobey's playing well, and I think he's playing better than Johnny Clayton is. And I think he wins this one 6-5. I think he nicks it in a last leg decider. Up next, we have got, obviously get involved in the chat as well. I will try and throw them up, but I'm having a few issues.
Oh, he's gone. He'll be back. I think, is having a few issues this evening. I will do my best to plod along in his absence. So those of you in the chat room, the next match next week is a big one in terms of what we've seen, because it is a repeat of tonight's final, and it is Michael Smith against Gerwyn Price. So in the rerun of tonight's final, do we think that it is going to be repeat or revenge? I am inclined to recall that quite recently Michael Smith put on social media that he was tomorrow flying out to Las Vegas for 5 days, which by my recollection probably puts him flying straight back from Las Vegas to Rotterdam. And for that reason, coupled with, there you are, I witted on in your absence, mate, about Gerwyn Price and Michael Smith. And I was just making the point that, coupled with the fact that Michael Smith has publicly told everyone he's nipping to Las Vegas for 5 days tomorrow, that means he's probably going to have to fly straight from Vegas to Rotterdam, unless he's got a private jet that's going to come back to St. Helens in between. The
international airport in St. Helens.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And unless then he's probably going to be flying straight back to there with Gezi Price on the absolute form of his life. And I am prepared to say Gezi Price wins against the world number one 6-2.
Oh, that's bold. I'm just going to dip back into the first game just because I have now got everybody's predictions in the chat as well. So Matthew with Johnny Clayton, sorry, Dan, 6-4. We've then got Bob Clayton 6-4 as well. Shane cheating, not giving a score. He's got Dobey winning, but come on, Shane, you've got to give us a score. Tommy's got Clayton 6-4. Very common, it seems here. Clayton averages 120 and wins 6-2.
How does Dobey get those 2 legs?
Not sure. To be fair, he got 2 tonight against 116. So
he's going to have to throw 2 9-darters.
He is. Going on to the next one, we've got Tommy going with you with Price winning this one, but 6-3 rather than 6-2. We've got Price 6-4 for Matthew. Price 6-4. Shane's given us a prediction this time round. Like to see it. Price 6-4. Price 6-2. Jamie's going with you on that one. And Price 6-5. I want to pick Michael Smith just because nobody has. However, I don't think flying to Vegas for 5 days and then flying straight to Rotterdam is going to be particularly helpful to his game either. That being said, I assume he's been practicing quite a lot recently and he's throwing a bag of spanners half the time. So maybe it'll work. Yeah, let's have that. A rest is as good as the practice or a change or whatever they call it. I've forgotten what the phrase is.
I think is that not lesson 1 in the FA coaching manual? A rest is probably as good as practice.
Yes. Old Chinese proverb there. So, yeah, I'm having it. Michael Smith wins 6-5.
Good on you.
Is Cam a professional wine taster? No. Professional wine tasters spit it out. I just drink it.
They also pay more than £3.47 a bottle as well.
Oh, hang on a minute. I'm a classy bird. I drink better stuff than that. I do what you always have to do when you go to the supermarket to buy wine, and that is pick the one that's got the biggest discount on it, because that has to be a good bottle that's now down to a reasonable price.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to do it, really. So next up, this is a battle that is massive for both of them, I feel. And we've got Dimitri van den Berg up against Peter Wright. Which one's this way going, Dan?
See, I'm really stuck on this, only because I think they both have the potential to absolutely stink the place out. Like that, and I genuinely think both of them at the minute have the potential to completely stink the place out, and I'm just not quite sure which one of them it will be. I'm inclined just almost on the toss of a coin, because he played better tonight than the other one did, to go with Peter Wright and say that Peter Wright probably beats Dimmy 6-3. But that could easily be the other way. That's the way I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Wright because he played better tonight, but could be a bit of a stinker, this.
Yeah, it could be. Or we could just somehow see some banner of where they both just think.
Oh, we could see two players with the shackles completely off. They just go completely ballistic. Like, we could, but...
Well, that's it. It could go either way. They either both think this is a huge chance here, and we go in there, and this is where I need to really perform, because this is big. This is someone I can beat, and I can go and do this. Or that plays against them, and they go, well, actually, this is a big chance, and the pressure gets on, and they struggle a little bit.
I do just think, though, like, depending on how closely they're all having a look at that table, like, if Dobie gets... if Dobie gets beaten, or really, to be honest, depending on either way that game goes, if the last game doesn't go the way of Nathan Aspinall, opportunities could open up for that fourth spot. So I do think it's an important game in that bottom end. What I do think is it decisively decides who's the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
I think that is even with 3 quarters, even with a quarter of the tournament to go, I think the loser of that is carrying the wooden spoon to the O2.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think if you lose this, you're out. You're done, and just give everyone a 6-0 against you, and you can just put your feet up for a few weeks. In the chat, we've got Tommy's got Wright 6-5, Shane Wright 6-4, Matthew Wright 6-3. Bob Wright 6-4, Jamie Wright 6-1 seems to be gaining a bit of confidence. He does seem to be gaining a bit of confidence, but still for me is probably a little bit misplaced. I'm not sure he's quite where he needs to be yet. I think the crowd could be a factor here. It's not very far from Belgium to Rotterdam. It's a very, very short ride, and I think there'll be quite a few Dimmy fans in there.
Yeah, and jump on the bus.
And I think that might be the edge, and I think that might be where he performs. So I think, we see him play all right again. I think we see him play a little bit better than he has been doing, like we've seen today. But I think this is where we see Dimmy play at his rapid best, where he just gets up there and plays, and he averages 103 and wins 6-4.
We could see proper Dimmy. We really could. And he's got the game. Granted, we're not seeing it a lot of late, but he does have the game.
And up last, we have Nathan Aspinall and Michael Van Gerwen.
Well, I know. I like Nathan Aspinall, I really do, and I know you're a big fan. I just think he's been for the first time this season in the Premier League, and I don't think I've ever said it in any tournament, any coverage we've ever done ever. For the first time, I have used the words fragile and Aspinall in the same sentences, like on more than one occasion in this round, in this year's Premier League. And I do think, and we saw a little bit of it tonight, that bit of Nathan that we all love to see, where he gets involved in really gritty matches and he likes to battle and he likes to fight, that doesn't seem to be coming to the forefront. And every time he gets into a situation where we think, well, this is the perfect situation for you here, Nathan, to battle and fight and be that Nathan Aspinall that we love to watch, it's not there. And I just think Michael Van Gerwen's going to have too much. I don't think it's going to be a runaway. I think it'll be 6-4 MVG. But the way that what I've seen of them both in the last month or two, I can't pick anything other, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
it's also in Holland as well,
That is a big part of it, but like you say, there's sort of scenarios and moments where you think this might suit Nathan a little bit here. Everyone against him, and he's going to come out fighting and scrapping, and when he's playing well, like at the weekend, he was really, really good. He didn't play his best in the final, and it maybe just got to that point where it had been a long day and he sort of struggled a little bit. But up until that point, he was really good and made his first ever Euro Tour final. I just think we might just see a little upset here, and I don't know why, because everything's telling me that Michael Van Gerwen wins this at home in Rotterdam. Everything is, but I just fancy that the scrap might just work here, because I don't think we usually see MVG play his best at home in Rotterdam. I feel like he tries too hard and he wants to really put on a show and average.
Forces it a bit too much, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that might be his downfall, because if he averages 95, I think Nathan beats him. And I think we might see that, and I think we see it in a last leg decider 6-5 Aspinall. Just the last couple in the chat, because I've not thrown anyone up for this game because I got distracted. Tommy, MVG 6-3. Matthew, MVG 6-3. And Jamie thinks MVG will be fine until he plays one of the Dragons, which wouldn't be until the final. So he's telling you which way he's going in the semi-finals. Mr. Simpson, from your selections, who makes the final and who then goes on to lift the title?
Well, I think that the final is relatively easy to pick. I would be very, very shocked if it wasn't a Gerwin Price against Michael Van Gerwen final next week. And what I will predict, and I know we're in Rotterdam, but I think that Gerwin Price is so relaxed and so comfortable and so able to control his emotions in front of huge arena crowds at present that I think Gezi Price does him in the final and he beats Michael Van Gerwen 6-4.
6-4 to Gezi Price in the final. I like that prediction. Bob's just said in the chat, Price said to have a different shirt for next week. He has done it a couple of times this year already. And I like it. I like the new design, and it's a bit simplified from his old one, but the fact that he can throw different colours on it, I do hope he has got an orange one. like Jamie says, if he comes out in a bright orange one in Rotterdam, I will be very impressed by that. Matthew's got MVG winning the night as it's Rotterdam. Tommy's gone full in on predictions, which we'd like to see. Price beating Clayton, MVG beating Wright, and then Price beating MVG in the finals. Going with you.
That was virtually my picks. Other than the fact that Price beats Dobie in the semi-finals, I'm afraid, Tommy.
Yeah, mine's gonna be a very different looking route because I've got 3.
Because there's some insane reason you put Michael Van Gerwen out in the first round.
Well, yeah, that. I've also got Peter Wright going out. I've also got Gerwin Price going out. So I've basically gone completely different to everybody in here. The only one I've gone the same as anyone on is you with Dobie in the first one, and we were on our own in that one as well, I think, to be honest. So Chris Dobie, Michael Smith in the first one. I think we see Chris Dobie beat Michael Smith in this.
Ooh.
I think
I liked you.
The rest being as good as a practice gets him through game 1, but then he struggles in the second game.
Like a practice.
Yeah, and then Nathan Aspinall beats Dimitri Vandenberg. And this is where Nathan Aspinall's win comes along for...
Wow.
Whoever it was that told me that he wasn't winning one earlier on. Jamie, sorry, but he isn't winning tonight. He wins it next week in Rotterdam, beats Chris Dobie in the final. Cue tears from Mr. Simpson when that happens.
Hey, mate, if Chris Dobie makes a final, the way things have been going at the minute, you will not be seeing any tears in Teesside, mate. If Chris Dobie makes the final, I will be a happy man. We are one step further forward to the top 4.
Tommy says that it'd be 6 in a row for the Welsh if his predictions come in. So we might as well have 60 nights in Cardiff. No, we've said we're taking it on tour. We're going to Aberystwyth. We're going to Wrexham. We're going to Llandudno. We're going to Anglesey. We're doing the lot. We're going everywhere. I'm not sure there's even an arena in Anglesey. We might just have to play on the beach. Who knows?
We're going to do it. We're going to have a novelty night in the Doctor Who experience. We're going to do that. We'll have the full work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're doing. We're going on to around Wales next year. But that is it for tonight. I mean, I say that is it like it's sprung upon us as a surprise. We've been talking for an hour and 3 minutes at this point. Some of that yourself on your own, Mr. Simpson, when my computer decided to drop me in it. So thank you very much for your input. Thank you, everyone in the chat. That was night 11 from Brighton. And join us again next week when we'll be reviewing week 12 from Rotterdam. Thank you all.
Good night.